Keith Urban is on stage for his first show since Nicole Kidman filed for divorce.
Golden couple had separated after 19 years of marriage.
They looked perfect. He was the country boy with a golden guitar. She was the Hollywood queen with a smile that could light up the Oscars. Together, Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman were supposed to be forever. But this is the story of how forever fell apart. After 19 years of love, fame, and heartbreak. Act 1. When fate brought them together. Picture it. Los Angeles, 2005. A charity gala glittering with stars. Cameras flashing. And somewhere in the crowd, Nicole Kidman, fresh from heartbreak, trying to move on from the past. Across the room stood Keith Urban, a rising country star, rugged, shy, and completely unaware that his life was about to change forever. They met. They smiled. They talked. And Nicole felt it, that spark she hadn't felt in years. But guess what? Keith didn't call. Not for 4 whole months. When she told this story years later, Nicole laughed and said, "I had the biggest crush on him, and he wasn't even interested in me. Oh, but he just didn't think he was good enough for her." The Oscar-winning actress, the woman the world adored. For months later, he showed up, and when he did, he brought a bouquet of white gardenias to her apartment at 5 a.m. on her birthday. That one gesture sealed everything. As Nicole put it, "That's when I knew, this is the man I want to marry." And she did. A year later, in 2006, they said, "I do," in a candlelit church in Sydney, surrounded by family, friends, and whispers of fairy tale love. For a while, it really was a dream. 2 stars, 2 hearts, 1 life. Act 2. The cracks beneath the glamour. But you know Hollywood, where every perfect smile hides a little pain. Only 4 months after the wedding, Nicole faced her first heartbreak in a marriage. Keith was struggling with fame, pressure, and addiction. So Nicole did what many wouldn't. She staged an intervention. She looked him in the eye and said, "You need help, and I'm not leaving until you get it." He checked into rehab, and when he came out, he called her his guardian angel. That moment should have been their new beginning, and for a while it was. Keith went back to the stage. Nicole went back to the screen. And in 2008, they welcomed their first daughter, Sunday Rose. 2 years later, a second little miracle arrived. Faith Margaret, born through a surrogate. They looked stronger than ever. The red carpets, the family photos, the awards, the laughter. But behind the smiles, something was changing. Keith's tours kept getting longer. Nicole's filming schedules grew heavier. Their lives were turning into 2 parallel roads that barely met. Nicole once said in an interview, "When you commit to someone like Keith, it means living and dying by that decision together." But the truth? Even the strongest promises can start to fade when love turns into distance. Act 3. The silence before the storm. In 2024, Nicole was honored with the AFI Life Achievement Award, the first Australian actor ever to receive it. Keith stood beside her, smiling proudly. But if you look closely, his smile didn't reach his eyes. Friends noticed. Insiders whispered. By mid-2025, the couple was rarely seen together. Different apartments, separate schedules. And then, the news broke. Nicole Kidman had filed for divorce after 19 years of marriage. The world froze. Fans were in disbelief. How could they, of all people, fall apart? A source close to Nicole said, "She feels betrayed, completely blindsided. She fought to save the marriage." And while Nicole stayed quiet, Keith went on stage for his first concert since the split, his voice cracking as he sang the very songs that once defined their love. People who were there that night said he could barely hold back tears. Act 4. What Keith finally admitted. A few weeks later, Keith sat down for an interview on an Australian radio show. It started light, the usual talk about music and life. But then the host asked the question, do you believe it was fate, you and Nicole meeting that night in 2005? Keith hesitated. He looked down and then quietly said, no, I'm not sure I believe in fate. The room fell silent. He took off his jacket mid-interview, visibly uncomfortable, and tried to steer the conversation somewhere, anywhere else. For years, Keith had loved talking about Nicole, but this time he couldn't. He wouldn't. When the clip aired, fans knew something was wrong. The man who once called Nicole my everything couldn't even say her name without his voice shaking. Another interview soon followed, and when asked how he was holding up, he said only, life is in session. You just keep going. It was short, cold, but between the lines, it said everything. Act 5, the aftermath. After the divorce filing hit the headlines, the couple's teams refused to comment. But insiders told the media they'd been living apart for months, long before the public even noticed. What went wrong? Maybe it wasn't one big betrayal. Maybe it was the slow erosion of two people growing in different directions. Nicole once said in an interview, the greatest advice our priest ever gave us was to always kiss hello and kiss goodbye. It keeps you connected. Somewhere along the way, maybe they forgot to. On social media, fans flooded Nicole's old anniversary post, the one where she wrote, "Happy anniversary, baby red heart." It's still there, frozen in time, like a love letter from a life that no longer exists. Keith, meanwhile, poured his emotions into music. His first performance after the split ended with him whispering into the mic, "Thank you for still believing in love." Act 6, Lessons from a Broken Fairy Tale. Their story isn't just about love and loss. It's about how even the most beautiful fairy tales can have heartbreak between the lines. Nicole Kidman, the woman who could conquer Hollywood, couldn't conquer love. Keith Urban, the man who could make millions sing, couldn't save his own duet. But maybe that's life. Maybe not every song ends with applause. Sometimes it ends in silence. Sometimes it ends with two people looking back, whispering, "We did our best." Act 7, The Legacy They Leave Behind. Today, Nicole continues to shine, acting, producing, giving back through UNICEF and UN Women. Keith keeps touring, his guitar, now telling stories his heart can't. They might have gone their separate ways, but for 19 years, they gave the world something real. Love, redemption, and a reminder that even in Hollywood, hearts break just like ours. So, what do you think really happened behind closed doors? Was it fate that brought them together, or fame that tore them apart? Tell us in the comments below. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell because the next story might just be even wilder than this one.